everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a GIF or an animation using your raster data. If you're interested in learning how to use R for GIS work or any sort of general application, I post videos on a weekly basis, so feel free to subscribe. Now the first thing we're going to do is install the Terra library. That's pretty much the only library we're going to need to generate the animation, and then we'll create another, we're going to import another library, which is the GIFski library, to save the animation. So make sure you have both the libraries installed, and if you don't, go ahead and install them. The next thing I'm going to do is import the raster that I'm going to use in this example. I'm going to call it sample ras. And the function we're going to use to import it is rast. So I've already set the working directory here, so I don't need to bother with the name of the path. And my raster is just called new_rast.tiff. I actually created this raster in my last tutorial, if you haven't seen it, which was focused on how to fill in missing data in R. Let's run that and take a quick look. So there's my raster. Now, obviously for an animation, you want to see differences between your animations. I only have a one-layer raster, so I need to create a couple more rasters so that we have something to flip between or loop through in the animation. And in using the Terra library, this is very simple. I'll just create a second raster called sample ras2, and I'll just take sample ras, my first raster, and multiply by 2. Run that, and then I'll just create one more so that we have 3 images to loop through. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is stack all 3 rasters together, so that's a single raster stack. And using the Terra library, it's just creating a vector of raster names. So I'll call it sample stack, and I'm going to create an empty vector, and inside I'll just list out the names of my 3 rasters to create a single raster stack. So sample ras2, sample ras3. And let's take a quick look at the sample stack. Okay, so you see we now have a spat raster. We have 3 layers, and NLYR means number of layers. We now have 3. And we have the values here, the min and max values of each raster. So now we have a sample stack. We can go ahead and create our GIF, and the GIF is quite simple. It's I'll create a variable called rasGIF, and it's just a single function called animate. Let's take a quick look at the animate function. So you can see here it requires a couple arguments. First, we need the spat raster. Let's specify our spat raster, which of course is sample stack. Next, we need to specify a pause. This is not a mandatory argument. You can choose to specify it or not, and I'm going to, and it's in seconds. So I'm going to set pause equal to 1 second. So it'll wait 1 second between each animation. Actually, you know what? I'll change it to 0.5 because 1 second is quite long these days. And then the number, I think the final cell I'm going to, the final argument I'm going to specify is n, which is the number of loops. So I'll set it to 1 and then we'll play with it. I'm actually going to get rid of the variable name for now, and let's just click enter and see what happens. Let's run it again. There you go. So you can see it ran through the loop twice. If that's all you want, that's great. I'm going to set it to 20 so that it runs continuously for a little while. But yeah, you can see here that the images are changing. Right now it's challenging to see what each image represents because my title's not changing, and that's because the names of my rasters are all the same. You can specify different titles using the titles argument in the animate library, in the animate function, but I'm just going to leave it as it is because this is just an example. So it's going to continue running 20 times. I'm going to stop it, and then we'll close this. And then finally, I'll show you how to save the animation. And that's where the GIF ski library comes into play. So we're going to use a function called save_GIF. And in there, we need to provide an expression, as you can see, expr, and that's the animation that we're going to create, or that we've created. So expr equals this animation. I'm actually just going to copy the whole thing and just chuck it in there. And then we're going to give it a name, the GIF file name. And we're going to call it rasanimation.gif. And that's pretty much it. Let's run that. Okay, so the animation was saved. It might take a minute or so. Mine took a couple minutes just because we've set a pretty long loop, n equals 20, so just be wary of that. And now we can pull it open in any sort of web browser and take a look at it. So there's my animation right there. It's important to note that if we were to just open it using a default application, it may not open properly. I'll show you what I mean. So you can see that when we just open it using the default app, which for me is like a PDF viewer on my MacBook, it doesn't actually make any sense. It's just a bunch of images. So what you want to do is right-click on it and then open it using some sort of web browser. I'm going to use Google Chrome. That's how you see the animation animated, flipping through all the images. It looks really cool when you have some interesting data to present. And that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, hopefully give it a like and subscribe. And if you want to see other topics related to R programming or GIS data, please let me know what you'd like to see and I'll do my best to create it. Thanks very much for watching and have a great day.